Hey all, my name is Jillian Jenkins, and I have decided to do the Unit 4 case study on Bhutan, specifically the Bhutanese Nepali refugee crisis. Bhutan is an Asian nation of approximately 800,000 citizens, but incorporates less than 20,000 square miles. They gained their independence in 1949. The gross national happiness is more important than gross national and domestic products. They are currently predominantly Buddhist. In the early 1990s, approximately 100,000 Bhutanese inhabitants of Nepalese ethnicity fled Bhutan seeking asylum in neighboring nations. That was more than one-sixth of the population at the time. It is known to be one of the highest number of refugees proportionate to the population. For a nation that values the gross national happiness so much, how did this occur? This was the outcome of the One Nation, One People policy the Bhutanese government adopted in the 1980s to preserve the Bhutanese culture they viewed the Nepalese inhabitants as threatening. This policy banned teaching the Nepali language in schools. It dictated the traditional Bhutanese clothing was to be worn. In effect, many were badly beaten and forced to flee the country with their families empty-handed. Many were forced to give up their citizenship cards so they would not be able to return. This was the effect of policies during the late 1970s that the government began focusing on gross national happiness above gross national and domestic products. A result of this was the defining of Bhutan nationals as those who adhered to the customs, values, dress, and language of the Buddhist Drukpas of the north. The Bhutanese to the south were predominantly Hindus of Nepali descent, also known as Lechompas. They began settling in the area in the late 19th century. How is this issue being addressed? Why does it matter? The issue is not being addressed within Bhutan. After almost 30 years, no progress has been achieved to allow citizens to repatriate back to their homes. This is important because the government of Bhutan won't allow them back and to protect cultural homogeneity. However, Nepal also will not allow the Bhutanese Nepali humans to assimilate into their borders. After almost 30 years, neither government will budge, so the UNHCR had made it a high priority to resettle those in refugee camps. People who are my age living in camps know nothing else. What has happened to these refugees who fled nearly 30 years ago? Nearly 100,000 Bhutanese refugees have been resettled in third-party countries around the world, approximately 85% of which have been resettled here in the United States. According to the UNHCR, with data back from 2015, the United States has accepted 84,819 Bhutanese refugees, followed by Canada accepting 6,500. Followed closely by Australia resettling 5,554, New Zealand housing 1,002, Denmark housing 874, Norway with 566, the United Kingdom accepted 358, and the Netherlands accepted 327 as of 2015. However, approximately 18,000 still remained in refugee camps. In 2015, only 2 camps remained. At the end of 2017, however, over 2,000 refugees still remain in camps. The UNHCR, after 2017, closed third country resettlement, and there are no refugee ID cards remaining for Bhutanese refugees. What are the possible future outcomes of this refugee crisis? Regretfully, at this time, the outcomes look extremely bleak, as resettlement in third country has been closed and is only possible if UNHCR reopens this possibility. Those who would wish to remain in the refugee camps indefinitely have difficulty due to lack of supplies and services available. They used to be receiving food and medical care and schooling, and most of that has now been shut down. The third option of repatriation to Bhutan or settlement in Nepal is not likely, as it's been 30 years and neither country has been willing to budge on their stance. How is all of this relevant to Unit 4 that we just learned? This unit focuses on understanding the effects of shifting demographics and social change, large-scale migration, as well as the infrastructural and mental strain of the growing trend towards megacities. The shift of demographic and social change that Bhutan saw in the policies leading up to the One Nation, One Policy allowed for the policy to be implemented, and the demography of the country shifted greatly from Bhutanese and Nepali heritage and Buddhist and Hindu religions to a nation which sees more significant homogeneity than they did before. Bhutan is very aware of the trend of mega cities occurring. Due to their size, it is unlikely they would reach that point, but their policies ensure that this is not a possibility in the future. The government has made it difficult for tourist purpose visits by implementing a minimum price per day that tourists can spend. They will not be seeing a spike of immigration anytime in the foreseeable future, as they wish to preserve their culture, seen in the mass expulsion of those with Nepali heritage.